Now, you actually heard from the great one himself.
I did.
In response to some of the early columns that you were writing back during the summer. Tell us what that was about.
Well, originally he responded, it was Tynan, again, who served as kind of a middleman between me and Campbell. Tynan took my critique and he forwarded on to Campbell himself, who then, wrote a very brief response to me and had it posted on Tynan's website. And after he wrote that response, I wrote to Campbell first. And I, first of all, just thanked him for engaging in dialogue with me because, as much as I disagree with his conclusions, I really am not interested in turning this into a personal war at all. He's still a researcher. He's a person. He's a human. I'm a human too. Okay, we have something in common. And I'm not interested in making enemies. So I thanked him just for taking the time to talk to me. I'm really glad that he did. And I also asked him for clarification on one thing that he had written in his first response to me, which is that he said he had this missing chapter from his book that originally he'd written explaining his methods for actually studying the data and determining that animal products were causative of disease. He actually had this chapter already written. And so when I read that, I was like, wow, he should just publish that, and then we can see what he did. And if it's valid, he's redeemed and whatnot. So I emailed him and asked him to consider publishing that online. And he wrote back that he did not have time to fetch it, so he was not going to. And then right after, he wrote a 12-page response. So he had time to write that.
I was going to say, he wrote you a book and a half in response.
Yeah. So I don't know. But, yeah, he did. I think that was the only email he sent to me. And then he sent one other when he published that 12-pager on his tcolincampbell.org site.
Right.
And I emailed him a couple times, but I don't think he really wants to be my pen pal. So.
Well, you're public enemy number one to him right now because everybody's talking about Denise Minger's analysis of the China study. Now, I thought it was interesting. You decided to leave comments open on your blog for all these columns. You've allowed the vegans and the vegetarians to come in, as well as those of us who support what you're writing. But that's not quite the case that happened at T. Colin Campbell's website. He cut off. Did he not cut off the comments so that people couldn't, just unabated write whatever they want?
He did. He let two slip through, I think by, I forget who, somebody who was reading my blog, though, as well. And two intelligent questions slipped in, and then he decided to post one final comment that was by someone named Melanie, who was just gushing over how much she loves his book. And right after that, he decided to clamp down the comments and not let any more through. And I think his explanation was he didn't have time or he didn't want to entertain these reductionism questions or something. And he really is not a fan of what he calls scientific reductionism. He likes to look at the forest, and he doesn't care that much about the trees. So on the Amazon thread, which if he didn't have time, why would he even bother going on an Amazon thread? But that's neither here nor there. On that thread, he often says, well, you just need to try the plant-based vegetarian no-meat diet, low-fat, low-protein diet, and you'll see the wonderful benefits. And I'm like, well, no, I don't have to do that to know how to be healthy. I've found my way. Can you acknowledge, and this is the question I throw back at him often, is can you at least acknowledge that there are other alternative theories that run counter to yours that are just as, in your opinion, just as healthy as yours is? I would argue healthier, but that's neither here nor there as well. But, and his response is, well, have you tried the plant-based vegetarian? And I'm like, you won't get anywhere with that, Jimmy.
I was going to say,
trust me.
I might as well talk to this blue wall I'm looking at right now. It's crazy. It's crazy. But you've done a great job. Hopefully we've whetted the appetite of people to go check out how many, as of the recording of this, we're recording it in early September, how many articles have you written about this China study?
I think about 7 or 8. There's a couple posts that are just kind of between and don't really say anything, but I think about 7 or 8. I just published again the wheat one as of yesterday, September 2nd.
Yep.
Yeah, but yeah, I think about 7, 8. I don't know. I have to count.
And you've made it very easy now. When you go to rawfoodsos.com, you have a link there, ironically called the China Study. I guess that's what you're known for now, that people will be able to find it. And so you made it real easy on them. All the China Study columns are right there at the very top. Just click the tab, The China Study, and you will see all of these columns that we've been talking about. Wow. Denise, great job. I am so proud of you, girl, because you have really put yourself out there, and you're getting some darts. What's the response been like from the vegan community? Because I know I was reading a lot of their sites, and who is this crazy chick, Denise Minger? Where'd she come from? Why do we care? And I mean, they're really talking about you on the vegan sites.
Yeah,
have you got any
really
personal
funny.
hate mail?
I have a little, not as much as I was expecting, though. I got banned from a couple of vegan websites that I used to post on, which is okay. I knew it was going to happen eventually. And I've gotten a few nasty emails, but, I think it's weird. They'd rather just kind of sit off in the sidelines and gossip among each other than confront me directly, because if you send me a personal email, no one else is going to read it, and it's kind of useless. And I think that they'd rather just make a hissy fit about it somewhere else online in their forums or wherever.
Yeah.
But it is funny to see that reaction, especially on vegsource.com, which
that's what I was looking at.
Yeah, I check that occasionally. It's a hoot. Oh my goodness. And it's funny too, because they accused me of deleting a comment off my blog, which is there and has been there since day one, since it was posted. And I emailed them actually a link to this comment to show them that they could read it, and it was still up. But they didn't write back, so I don't know about that.
They've learned from Campbell well. They've learned from his handle criticism well.
They did. But again, it's funny because I was that vegan at one point, so I can see, and I can see if this had happened when I was still a vegan, I would totally be the person on my blog being like, "You suck! Go away! Go away! Meat eater, corpse eater, work for the meat industry, the meat and dairy industry." So, yeah, I can understand it, and it's hard to get upset about it just because I've been in that place. And it's more of a matter of I feel their pain, and I hope that one day they can wake up from their reality and face the real one.
And the groupthink mentality is very hard to break, Denise, once you're in it. And I try very hard in this community not to allow myself to get involved in that too heavily, because you really should be an independent thinker regardless.
Absolutely.
I think that's what makes us individual. I think that's what helps us to learn the best, is when we don't get too caught up in our own preconceived notions about things and always remain the student.
I agree completely. Yes. And yes. And that is what's important, because as soon as the mind clamps shut on a certain idea, then you've stopped growing, you stopped learning, you're stuck in one place, and then God forbid you have a problem somewhere down the line. It's going to be impossible to pry yourself out of that rut and open back up to new possibilities. It's just a damaging thing to do. So yes, good for you, Jimmy.
So Denise, thank you. Denise, have you read Lierre Keith's The Vegetarian Myth?
I have not, but I think I need to, because a lot of people have recommended it. Yeah.
Yes. She has been on this podcast show a couple of times this year, and she'd be a neat person for you to kind of hang with, because you guys are very similar. You didn't have the health problems that she did, thankfully, because you weren't vegan long enough. But she long-term vegetarian vegan, and really messed up her health. And thanks to adding in healthy meat, she's been able to get her health a little better than it was. Now, speaking of meat, you are a raw foodie, so you have raw vegetables and raw meat?
I eat sushi, raw fish, eggs. I'm not a complete raw foodist anymore. I'm flexible on it, but most of my diet is raw fruits, raw vegetables, raw fish, and coconut stuff, and it's pretty simple. No grains, no sugar, cooked or processed sugar or anything like that. Whole foods, pretty simple.
We're going to have to name your diet after you because you wrote on your About Me page, I eat too much fruit to fit into the raw paleo category, too much animal food to fit in the raw vegan category, so I float somewhere in between. We're just going to call it the Denise Minger from now on. So if you're in between those two, you're the Denise Minger. So
you're the Denise Minger. Okay, it works for me.
Her name is Denise Minger. Check out our website, rawfoodsos.com. And at the very top, if you'd like to read all of these China study rebuttals that she's written, she's done a great job. We're very proud of you, Denise, for all the amazing work that you've done and are continuing to do. I assume you still got a few more thoughts to write, or have you pretty much exhausted everything you wanted to say about the China study?
Nope, I've got some more stuff up my sleeve.
Maybe a book at some point.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
Well, you are doing a great job, and we are very proud of you. Keep up the great work, and thank you so much for being here today on the Livin' La Vida Low-Carb Show.
Jimmy, thank you so much for having me and letting me rant about the China study. I really love doing that.
Coming up next time on the Livin' La Vida Low-Carb Show, Josh Trent from Wellness Force. Visit our website at thelivinlowcarbshow.com and leave us your comments. Thank you for listening.
Disc of light.